Toronto foreclosures are surging. Check out these deals. This home sold for $465,000 less than when it was purchased. And this one in Toronto, a $650,000 loss. And then there's this power of sale in North York, bought for just under $4 million, and it sold for $1.6 million less.
Oh boy. Yeah.
These aren't flukes. These aren't bad renovations. And these definitely aren't investors panic selling. This is what's happening right now across the Greater Toronto Area. Welcome to the world of power of sales, foreclosures, or simply put, bank sales. These are real sales and real losses. And in this video, I'm going to show you why power of sales are increasing across the GTA, why so many homes are now selling for less than asking, where prices are breaking down the most, and we are even going to explore the newest power of sale listings that just hit the GTA market together. Now let's talk about what's actually happening beneath the headlines. According to the latest data, 97% of GTA neighborhoods are in underbidding territory. And only 3% of those neighborhoods are obviously saw overbidding or some multiple offer situations. Now, nearly 4 out of 5 homes sold for less than asking across the Greater Toronto Area. Homeowners are losing control right now, and lenders know it. So why are we seeing this wave of power of sales and massive losses? Well, it comes down to 3 things in my opinion. The first reason is affordability. So home prices ran far ahead of income growth. And when rates were low, people really stretched their budgets and their buying power. And so when rates changed, that stretch snapped. The second reason is mortgage renewals. A lot of homeowners coming up for renewal had mortgage rates that were extremely low due to the pandemic, the COVID special. And that's not a small adjustment now. That could add many hundreds more to your monthly payment or even thousands of dollars a month in added payments for some. Random thought though, wasn't the shopping experience great during the pandemic period though? I remember going to Costco and there was only allowed 20% capacity, and it was so peaceful, like shopping in Costco, one person per aisle.
That was nice.
But on a more serious note, the third reason is critical as well, and that is that lenders have changed their behavior. So income documents are now being scrutinized way harder, and some lenders are refusing extensions. Some simply don't want the risk anymore. And that could mean you could actually qualify for it, but not anymore. And that forces borrowers into a corner. They have to find a new lender, or they have to sell, or they have to face a power of sale, right? And so you also have to understand how many fraudulent mortgage applications got put through in the GTA during those hot markets. Every realtor knows a mortgage agent or a guy that will do it. So when the market is booming, these fraudsters, they have the ability to pull equity if they can't keep up with their payments, or they'd sell for a profit. But now lenders are really looking at each client, and for good reason. And that is why the bank sales number is actually much higher in Brampton compared to other areas.
It's fraud.
And it's catching up to them. This cottage, it was purchased near peak pricing in 2021. It sold for a $531,000 loss. So recreational properties were hit very hard when rates rose and discretionary income tightened. People stopped looking at cottage country, right? So they're getting absolutely slaughtered right now. Now, before anyone romanticizes power of sale listings and thinks that that's where, the best properties are, you understand the risks as a buyer as well. So power of sale homes are sold as is. So there's no warranties, there's no guarantees on condition. There's no promises about systems, plumbing, or structure, and the bank has never lived in the home, obviously. So they will not fix any issues. And in rare cases, oddly enough, if the owner comes up with the money before closing somehow, that sale can actually be nullified. Doesn't happen often, but it can happen. That's why buying power of sale requires strategy. Now, before I show you the newest power of sale listings that have hit the market, we're going to go through them together. If you're a buyer, a family, a first-time home buyer, and you are serious about getting a great deal in the new year, my email is the link in description, or you can book a chat with me. But tell me where you're looking, your ideal budget, and a bit about yourself, and I can set you up to receive the newest bank sales daily. Now, Let's look at some power of sales and evaluate them together. And let me know in the comments, if you won the Lotto Max, would you buy the last power of sale I'm going to show you? It's listed at $12 million and it's still a full construction site. I know, captivating, isn't it? So let's dive in.
Now you have my attention.
And so this one is in Scarborough, bank sale, just reduced their price by $20,000, been on the market for roughly 24 days. And so let's take a look at these pictures together. So it's a typical Scarborough bungalow, pretty popular property type, virtually staged. See some wear there, signs of wear here, but you've got a basement kitchen, so definitely rental potential. This used to be like the Scarborough special, also the Brampton special. Have a basement apartment. It would attract ridiculous offers and bids, but the market's cooled down for sure now. Got signs. This is a problem with most bank sales, is that you've got neglect, right? Because people that are behind on their bills and not able to pay, typically they're not the type of properties to maintain their properties well. They're not the type of owners to maintain their properties well. So you can see that we've got some cracked glass. So that is available for $799 in Scarborough. We also have in Mississauga this property, $910,000. Cute property. I like how the slope is. You've got the drain at the bottom of the driveway. Some marks from people moving out. Looks like it's got decent bones. Great layout. Now we've got here, like I said, bank sale. So this property's had the water turned off. And so you'll see some of these properties, they'll be in good shape, and all of a sudden, as you're going through, you'll realize where they ran out of money. But for a basement apartment to look like that, pretty nice. All right, we're starting to see that, okay, money ran out. Not a bad property. Someone will be able to get this cheaper, but that's currently in Mississauga for 910. Decent lot size. Next up, we are going to Caledon. And this is 1.149. Obviously, none of you are going to like that price. Been on the market for 15 days. Let's take a look at the photos. So we have a big subdivision here. Lots of photos of the exterior. Lots of photos of the exterior. This sometimes scares me when I'm looking at properties like this for my clients, because when you have all of this space around you and you see all these subdivisions, there's the fear that right now that, after this is built, do they build a bunch behind there? Do you lose that green space behind you? Does the developer have to lower prices because we're in a different market, which then shorts, cheaps all these people out and now their homes are worth less? Those are the types of concerns I'm always looking at when you buy in subdivisions like this at this price point, for sure. Because as you bring inventory to it, and it will, because you can see all these empty spots, that's what's going to happen. So going inside, nice home. Now that's a pretty wood panel type kitchen. Let me know in the comments. I feel like this is overdoing it. Nobody wants to have a bunch of skids for a kitchen, and this is kind of looking like that. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm looking at this and I'm having a little seizure. Nice garage. Cute place, but you can see they've got the same. They must have gotten a deal on the cabinets, because you can see it's in all the bathrooms too. Yeah, more of the same. And so that's my concern right there is what is going to happen with that view? That's too much land just sitting there waiting to be built on. So if you're looking at this property, you've got to think about that. Now we're going into Oshawa. And so, yep, when you're into areas where there's a lot of manufacturing plants, you're going to see these starting to pop up. But Oshawa is one of the places like Hamilton where you can get a place for really cheap. Now, just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's a good deal. So let's take a look at this property. So you're going to see it's pretty dated. It's going to be a small, but you can kind of see a lot of patchwork happening around. It's a lot more dated than it looks. You can tell by the floors. Sometimes what ends up happening, and with bank sales sometimes, is the owner knowing they're getting kicked out, they like will rip out their appliances. And this could be a case like that. Looks pretty dirty. Now we're going to get into seeing, okay, how's the foundation? All right, and now we're seeing some things that are a little bit alarming. Whenever you see like patch jobs like this, or you see like a horizontal cracks are probably the worst thing you want to see in a basement foundation. When you've got cracks going down vertically, sometimes they're easy to patch and they're not as big of a deal. But when you have horizontal crack going across, it could turn into something pretty big. So unfinished basement, backyard. So this home, small lot, going to have a lot of work to do inside. Basement's going to need a whole reno. You're going to have to really assess it. So for a lot of people, this is just going to be too much. You're not getting a 450 property. You're going to have to put a ton of money into it. Now, this last one, I wanted to show you this because this one is a power of sale. And it's going to start to get like picked up by people because people are wanting to talk about it right now. But this is a 11.8888 million mansion. But the thing is that it's built, but the interior isn't done. It looks like we've got the studs and some wiring, but the rest isn't. And so this is one of those really interesting properties. And also, when you've got the property, so I'm not sure if you know or not, but in Chinese culture, the number 8 is considered lucky, symbolizes wealth. And so I've never really understood. I've always thought personally that if you price your property like this and you use 888 on it, you obviously are trying to go after a certain culture, but at the same time too, does that culture not then think, hey, what does 8 mean to them? Are they just trying to do this so that I buy the home and I pay more? Let me know in the comments about that. I've always been kind of weary, and so I'll have certain clients that aren't Chinese, and they'll say like, why don't we put eights in it? Because it'll bring people to us. And then my thought process always like, well, does this make people think that we're trying to manipulate them? So I'd be curious to hear what you think about that. That's a good argument for people to have in the chat. But here we go. So it's all studs, right? So you got the frame, but everything else needs to be done. Um, and it's a huge place. But like I said, like $12 million, right? $12 million, and you don't have a finished product. And so you're essentially buying someone else's problem. And I'm sure it would be gorgeous, but sometimes what you need to do with these properties is you need to show mock-ups of what it could look like. This is going to be a very hard sell for $12 million if people can't see what this room could look like. I can picture it, you know, I can even create an AI image of this for my clients if they were looking at it. But the reality is that this is a lot of money for a property that isn't finished. And the lot, I think they're going to show us how big the lot is. Yeah. So that's the lot size. And, I would just be expecting, I think, a little bit more for that amount of home. you're $12 million out there kind of in the middle of nowhere for a home that isn't finished. So I'm really curious to see what happens here and what goes on here, because this is a fascinating power of sale. Now, the thing about the GTA is it's so large that we have so many markets within it, and some are very inexpensive and some are still pricey. And so these are the 5 least expensive areas right now based off of data from November. So Ion View is older housing stock, Regent Park, obviously an area Toronto has been trying to revamp for a long time. And then you've got the other 3. So this is a very different Toronto housing market than what most people remember. And going into 2026, buyers who understand this landscape will have options that didn't exist a few years ago. Just make sure you're informed before you make a move. If you like this content, hit that like, it helps me a ton, and subscribe. I'd love to help you back. Until next time, take care, my friends.